Hey guys, welcome to the road. I'm out actually doing some traveling with my daughter and my family, and here's the deal. I brought my stuff with me because I knew this afternoon and this evening would be such an important update. I wanted to keep the video and the channel here updated on the road. New data coming in. Winter storm warnings have now been issued for a lot of areas now across the Northeast as our winter storm gets cranked up here. We're expecting some decent snow. Some areas could see more than 7-8 inches, and some places I think somebody's going to get a foot of snow out of this, especially into the interior areas of the Northeast. As our area of low pressure deepens, as it moves up the coast, you're going to get your snow. And again, it could be significant in some areas. Cold air builds in behind this. We're talking about Arctic air. There's going to be some lake effect snow too as our winds come in off of the lakes. And now as that cold air settles down toward the Gulf Coast, we look at the potential for some snow. And, I was digging into some discussion, some different things coming out from the National Weather Service. They're talking about the idea that this snow here along the Gulf Coast could be so significant that you start to wonder about flatter roofs and some of the roofing structures, right? The building codes aren't the same as they are where it snows. And the wording was mentioned that there could be roof failures, collapses, those types of things, especially if you end up with a foot of snow. It's not off the table. It's probably the high end of things, but still an interesting thing to consider with snow that heavy that far to the south. I think it's mainly going to be along I-10 and north of I-10, but the fact that we're talking about snow that far south is incredibly wild. And the reason we are is because of all of this cold air that's just suppressing everything toward the Gulf Coast. Your storm track is not going to come north. That high is super strong here, just settling in with that cold Arctic air. And now the moisture, it has to go this way. It's overrunning, so there will be the chance, I think, for some mixed precipitation, especially closer to the coast. The global models are notorious for showing more snow than mix. And as we get closer, we'll have a better idea. Even the National Weather Service is talking about that as these short-range models come into focus, a better idea of what kind of precipitation we'll see. And by the time we get to Wednesday, most of that pretty much done. We're going to dig into the snow totals specifically with the storm that we're dealing with heading into Sunday, also into next week too. But after we get rid of this, we're much quieter. And we're quiet across the west too. High pressure keeping you guys dry. And then I don't know. Let's just wait and see how all this pans out as we head into the late part of next week. I don't know if we're dealing with another storm. Let's just get through this one first. The GFS has the idea, too, of this storm that we're seeing as we head into Sunday, and then there's your moisture along the Gulf Coast moving to the east. A closer look at our snow into the Northeast. It'll really start to pick up across southeast Pennsylvania as we head into Sunday. This would be Sunday afternoon. That's got good snow going across western Maryland, southeast Pennsylvania, and then into parts of New Jersey. I think you get a bit of a mix. You can see that yellow showing up here with some of this high resolution showing up on the NAM. So the idea that there could be some mixing certainly on the table. Winter storm warnings are flanked really by winter weather advisories. You can see that right here as you look at the National Weather Service out of New York. Just winter weather advisories here out through Long Island, but north of that, winter storm warnings for Hartford over to Poughkeepsie, and then west into New Jersey. Now, Newark, winter weather advisory for some snow. Either way, we're going to get some accumulating snow here and some wintry precipitation over the next 36 hours or so. It'll start across Kentucky. It'll move north into West Virginia. Some snow across southwest Virginia, too, and the mountains of western North Carolina. 2 to 4 inches, I think. And then once you get up into West Virginia, and there's even some winter storm warnings out for these areas, you could see 2 to 5 inches in those warning areas or more, especially into the higher elevations where 6 to 10 possible, especially here into the eastern mountains and the northeast mountains of West Virginia into western Maryland. And then as we get close to D.C., these numbers trail off quite a bit, so we're looking at like 2 to 4 here. Down toward Charlottesville, those numbers start to drop, and once you get to Richmond, just a coating at best. Now to the north, toward Philadelphia, you're right on the line here between 2-3 inches of snow. The same for New York City. Although I will tell you, the forecast has been bumped up a little bit, closer to 3-4 inches. And if you look into New York City, it's close to 5. I'm not going to zero in on exactly 5 inches of snow, but the idea is that you could see, I think, 3 to 6. Certainly not out of the question with this type of setup. And then northwest of this line up into this area, there could be somebody getting close to a foot of snow, especially up here into northwest New Jersey, the Poconos, up into southern parts of New York, eastern New York, and then into the mountains here of Vermont, New Hampshire, and to western Mass. Somebody's going to get 8-10 inches of snow out of this. And then further to the north and east, you can see the snow in and around Boston. Forecast officially for 4.9. That's the number coming out from the National Digital Forecast Database. So either way, you're looking at, 3 to 6 looking likely at this point, and some heavier snow too, moving northeast into Maine. Parts of down east Maine possibly seeing 8-10 inches, maybe even close to a foot in some areas. as this all moves to the north and east. Let's talk about what's happening across the south. A closer look at this. Our low moving across the Gulf Coast with some snow. Now, the European wants to really suppress everything a little bit more. And again, I don't know that we see all snow like these models are showing. Another thing with the models, when you look at the operational runs and you see numbers come out showing a foot of snow, you look at it and go, is this really going to happen? Well, one thing, too, there's a lot of microphysics things going on here, too. I was looking at some of the forecast discussions, and they were talking about that, too, especially with something this far south. You know, you get ground melting. You also have compaction with a very dense snow that we'll likely see. It's going to be heavy and wet, so your snow ratios are going to be, you know, probably 6-to-1 or 8-to-1. So for every inch of rain, you'd get 6 inches of snow. You know, 1 to 10 is probably an average. A cold, fluffy snow is, you know, 20-to-1. So if you have a 6-to-1 snow ratio, a thick, heavy snow, and also you're going to deal with some mixing, with which the models have a hard time really picking up on that. That continues to push to the east, and now look what we're dealing with. The idea that we get some snow here along the coast of North Carolina into South Carolina and Georgia, in my mind, certainly still there at this point in time. And this is wild, still on the ensembles, the idea of more than 6 inches of snow showing up now. 30 to 50% chance, arguably, in these areas. Here's a closer look at the official forecast from the National Digital Forecast Database. We're looking into East Texas now, Louisiana, a good solid 3 to 5 inches here. If you flip over to the models, it's even more impressive. So here's a 10-to-1 ratio, so you could get the idea that, you know, you get 7 inches down here. I don't know that we get it that far south, especially along the coast of Louisiana, but the idea of 6+ inches could look more like 4. So along the I-10 corridor and north would be your best chance of snow, and then it really trails off once you get up here into northern Louisiana. A little bit further to the east, this has taken the European operational out. It's still trying to put close to 6 inches of snow across southeast Georgia, right along the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina. It's been a long time since we've seen this much snow in these areas, so this is definitely something different. One thing's for sure, we stay cold across the country with this weather pattern really not letting up. Temperatures really dropping below zero across the northern plains. You're definitely going to continue to see that here well below zero, especially across parts of Minnesota into North Dakota. That continues to push south, and now we've got single digits and teens dropping all the way down into Arkansas, Mississippi. Cold weather sticks around, too, as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. If anything, it just moves to the east. And these temperatures here will be some of the coldest we've seen this winter in some areas, dropping below zero into parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, into the Northeast. And it's going to stay cold here, too. And we've got freezing temperatures all the way to the Gulf Coast. So definitely a cold weather pattern setting up. All right, that's all I got from the road here. Thanks for watching. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will. Welcome to the channel again today. If you're brand new, I'm Travis, and I appreciate all of you, those of you who have subscribed. My history of background, super quick. I used to be a meteorologist on television years ago, but I got out of that business. It's been over 5 years, but I've been tracking these types of models and following this stuff, and it's become a bit of an obsession, right? Here I am in my car. Okay. All right. Hope you enjoy it. See you next time.